Good morning, my lovely little ghosts, and welcome to the Dark Orchard. I'm Laura, and this is a Black Veil Brides video. As I said in my intro, this is a Black Veil Brides video. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about Restitch These Wounds, which is the new album released by Black Veil Brides. So this originally was going to be a two-part video, however, I've decided to just power through it all and get all of it done all at once. I'm going to be talking about the album and doing an album review, discussing the different songs. And then I'm also going to be discussing the Black Veil Brides live stream from the Whiskey A Go-Go, where they live streamed to their fans worldwide, which was an experience. So by the end of this video, I will be talking in depth about the live stream experience. But for now, we're going to break down the album and I'm going to talk about different songs while I do my makeup. This makeup is inspired by Restitch These Wounds, and technically inspired by We Stitch These Wounds as well. And let me just say before I get started, I do wish this was the video where I was debuting my new restitched outfit. My restitched inspired outfit, where I really do wish I was showing you ghosts the outfit that I have been working on. However, once the concert was canceled, I stopped working on it. I just got sad and I didn't feel inspired enough to work on it. But after the live show, I feel more inspired and I want to finish it. So maybe I will eventually debut that. It's just not going to be this video because it's not finished. It's been laying under my sewing machine in a box, untouched, for a couple of months now. But that's okay because it still looks good. It's still coming out the way I want it to, and I really think you ghosts are going to love it because I took inspiration from my first coat, the red and black coat that I did, and I switched it up for restitch. So a technical and literal restitch outfit will be coming soon. This video is devoted to the album, a review of the album, and discussing the live show while doing Restitch These Wounds inspired makeup. But I'm super excited. I've been planning this for a while now. I've been planning this makeup look and everything, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So without further delay, let's get started. So in case you're not on Twitter, we do have a very knitted community where a bunch of Black Veil Brides fans just communicate and discuss Black Veil Brides every single day. And it feels very much like a family. But one of those specific family members is just like the queen of finding good pictures. My screen's a little dusty, but go give her a follow because she's amazing. Always post the absolute most amazing photos. I'll actually put her at the bottom of the screen, and I'll link her down in the description. But I asked her to find me some good pictures of Andy's original makeup look. And asking her that was the best thing I've ever done because she gave me 50 pictures of Andy with the makeup. I keep trying to hide my shirt because I didn't plan on wearing this shirt. I just was really hot and wanted something comfy. But I guess I'll show it just so you're not like, what does her shirt say? It is, in fact, my I Prefer the Drummer shirt from Warped Tour 2018, 2017. From the year where Enigma Soul Cosplay did her first crowd surfing to Motionless in White. Same year, wore this shirt. So it might look familiar because I did a ghost pick my outfit for Warped Tour thing. So it might look familiar. But it's just because it's a comfy crop top and it was really hot in here. But I also have my makeup robe on and we're getting into makeup. So like I was saying, I asked her to find different pictures of Andy with his original makeup look. So, surprise, surprise, I'm going to be doing an alteration of Andy's original makeup look. I'm going to be using this liquid eyeshadow by e.l.f. It's called 24 Karat Gold. The lipstick that I'm wearing is appropriately a Wet n Wild color named Goth Topic. So my first step is going to be to line my eyes, grab my notes, and start talking about the album before I lose all of you. There we go, added some much needed definition to my eyes. And now we're going to jump into my notes. I took notes. So when I think about We Stitch These Wounds, I think about Perfect Weapon. And when I think about Perfect Weapon, I think about this. This image pretty much sums up exactly what I'm planning on doing with my makeup. I'm going for like the dark gold and black kind of look. And also the skull in Restitch These Wounds is a goldish color. So I'm sticking to that color palette, and I don't usually do gold anything, so this is going to be an all-out experiment. When looking for pictures of Andy that showed the makeup really well, this is the one that I think I was drawn to the most because it was clear and it showed most of the makeup. Along with some others that she showed me, but then the boys started doing these. And then there was a whole chart of what their war paint looked like. So it was just like, why are you even researching it? Here's everything you need right here. So I'm going to be using these pictures and of course that other picture and other reference pictures that were sent to me to create this look. But mostly I'm just going to be looking at this because this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So this will be my template. This will be my guide to what I'm actually doing on my face. So now let's discuss Restitch These Wounds. So the call to arms. They actually did keep Urban Flanders saying the call to arms. And if you're here, you know what that is. But it is the first thing that you hear. It's the first thing you hear on the album. It is the first thing that we heard in the Perfect Weapon music video all those years ago. And it is so insanely beautiful. So I'm glad that they didn't like re-record that in any way, but they did in a way remaster it so that it sounded different. There's a heavy tempo that wasn't quite there before. And not only was it a heavy tempo, but it's like a rising tempo. So with every beat, every little bit of word, you get this like rising feeling until it ends. You know what? I have no space between my eye and my eyebrow. I'm realizing this as I'm trying to do this makeup. Like zero space. But overall, in the restitch, it's just extremely powerful. The tone of it's deeper, and it's just overall super, super powerful. Which the call to arms was always powerful. Like, it's always just had that profound effect. It's a call to arms. It's supposed to. But now in the restitch version, you feel the empowerment. So now we come to We Stitch These Wounds. And I should tell you that I listened to every single one of these songs from the album, one earphone in each ear, and I listened to both albums at the same time. Simultaneously, I had earphones for We Stitch These Wounds and an earphone for Restitch These Wounds, and I compared them in real time against each other in each ear and took notes, just so I could easily appreciate all the subtle nuances and the subtle changes and just everything that makes the restitch perfect. And I've been talking with people. I talked with like My Will to Breathe, and a lot of people say that you just can't beat the original, and I can see how they'd say that, but at the same time I can also see how Restitch These Wounds is perfect. I don't usually do Andy makeup, so I'm just like constantly referencing. It's funny, I'm usually the CC makeup person. So with We Stitch These Wounds, after hearing it in direct comparison, I was actually just blown away. I think that a lot of the decisions that were made work in their favor a lot more. I think for one, the screams in this song work so much better in the restitch than it did in the original. The opening with the guitars, also very, very different, and I honestly like the restitch better. As a title track, I feel like the redoing of the screams really worked to their advantage. I feel like having the screams like backtracked in We Stitch These Wounds was a good decision, because as a title track it just flows better with them blending in rather than overtaking. And I know that the screams are a touchy subject with a lot of people because those screams are raw emotion to a lot of people. And I totally do understand that. I understand that it flows better from a musical standpoint to not have them so overpowering to the rest of the song. And starting with this song, you can understand the lyrics so much more. Like the whole album, you can comprehend the lyrics so much better. Like, I know that before actually looking up the lyrics, some of the songs I had no idea what they were saying. And then of course you look up the lyrics, you learn them, and you sing along anyway, even if you can't actually audibly understand them. And my hearing's really bad in my right ear, which I found out extremely when I did the one in each ear, because my right ear I had to turn up way more than my left ear. But I could tell. I could just tell it was better. From the vocal standpoint, We Stitch These Wounds feels like it's fixed. It feels like things were just altered to the perfect extent for it to sound right. And also that classic guitar solo sounded so good. So good. And I really, really love the way that Andy says, "And stitch these wounds with me tonight," especially the second to last time. The second to last time that he sings that in Restitch was so good. Like it had a wave to it, and I really, really enjoyed that. So in Beautiful Remains, the one thing that I noted right away was that the guitars no longer sounded hollow. In the original, as I was listening to it, it felt like the guitars were like in a box. It felt like they weren't part of the track as much as they should have been. And with Beautiful Remains on Restitch, they sounded coherent with the rest of the track. Brief intermission while I do that thing with my mouth so that I can do that side of my face. And now we've come to Children Surrender, which was my favorite song from the album and my favorite Black Veil song for a long time, until New Year's Day, which we all know is my favorite song. But before New Year's Day was a thing, Children Surrender was my favorite Black Veil Bride song. And this song, it blows me away every time. It blew me away when he sang it. It blows me away, okay? It's just something about those lyrics I love. The Restitch version was just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than the original. I'm so used to doing CZ makeup, I went all the way down with that. Which I guess is fine. I mean, Andy's goes all the way down, doesn't it? No, his goes all the way down. Okay. So I'll just match it up over here. Sort of matchy. Works. Okay, but Children Surrender, favorite song from the album, favorite song until New Year's Day happened, and honestly, they couldn't go wrong with this one. I think it sounds perfect. some people might disagree with me, but I think it sounds perfect. And while I fill these in, let's talk about the next track, which is Perfect Weapon. This was the second released single from the Restitch These Wounds album, and there were a lot of mixed reviews. Some people that I saw were talking about how the screams were backtracked, and screams are supposed to be like a raw emotion. That's where it came from, like the whole screaming from your gut, showing your rage and your emotion and all of that is what screaming is about. So they were very disappointed when the screams seemed almost backtracked to this song. I personally thoroughly enjoyed it, thought it was great, think the other one is great too. I mean, that opening scream, Lonnie said so himself, it's mind-blowing. I can't remember the word he used specifically, but he was right. It is very powerful in both of them, especially listening with headphones. The whole lip gloss thing is so totally underrated, and it makes me really sad. Did I say lip gloss? I said lip gloss. Okay. I'm losing my mind. That's okay. I don't even know what I was saying. But for the most part, I've seen positive feedback and a positive look at the way that they have remastered all of these songs. And you have to give them a little bit of respect for wanting to give you what they wanted you to have to start with, because now they have the power to actually do that. And I honestly am just so thankful that they thought to do this, the 10th anniversary, and they were like, that album means so much to the Legion of the Black, to our army, that they deserve a remaster. They deserve us to give them what they never got. And we got it, and I think it's so beautiful. I realize that a lot of people have a deep connection to Perfect Weapon, especially the music video. I mean, if you watched my testimonial, I also have a somewhat connection to Perfect Weapon because that was the moment that I was sold. But the restitch of Perfect Weapon, beautiful. I think it works. And it's not exactly the original, but I think that's okay because they've all grown and the songs have expanded and grown with them. I think it shows the maturity in both vocals and performance for this entire album to even exist. Knives and Pins was pretty much the same response as Perfect Weapon. I think it's so good. Knives and Pins was probably a really tricky one for them, just because it holds so much meaning. There wasn't really much space for error with Knives and Pins. So all in all, I think, it went over really well. This next track is now called The Overture, or Overture 3. It is formerly The Mortician's Daughter, and it's no longer a lyrically sung song. It is a classical masterpiece now. And I brag about Cece all the time. I don't brag as much about Jinx. Jinx deserves it because his talents are unmatched. This is now a violin melody with no lyrics, just a beautiful, beautiful sound. And while watching the live show, my mother commented that it was her favorite part because it honestly brings you to tears every time you hear it. Jinx gave us some very soulful string work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this and talk at the same time. I'll talk about this overture, then we'll do the lips. So it's just a very soulful string work, no lyrics, just an intermission for the album. And it worked so perfectly. And I did see some mixed reviews. If you go to the official YouTube page, where the song is posted, there are some mixed comments, a lot of them missing the lyrics, but I think this works. And if you know the lyrics, you can sing along to it in your head. So that's what I thought about the overture. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous. Jinx is a master of strings, and I'm so glad that he shares his talents with us. So let me finish with the lip and we'll go from there. I'm gonna see how this looks. It's supposed to be a lip safe gold. Okay, yeah. This bleed into it like Andy does. That little black part I'm doing in gold. There. Alrighty, now that that makeup's done, I can totally just focus on what's happening with the songs. 5 songs to go, and then we're going to jump into talking about the live show, and that will go by pretty quick. So I'm going to clump these two together. I know I shouldn't, but I am. All Your Hate and Heaven's Calling. My CD, my We Stitch These Wounds CD, has not had All Your Hate for about 5 years, so I haven't been able to hear All Your Hate except when it comes on my shuffle or when I specifically go to hear that song. So hearing it on Restitch was like hearing a new song for me. Like, I knew the lyrics in the back of my brain, but it wasn't like prevalent like the rest of the CD is. Like, I've got that CD in my car and I listen to it all the time on repeat, but that one song has a scratch on it and it just skips right over it. So hearing All Your Hate on Restitch was like hearing basically a new track that I knew the words to. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was done very well, like all the others. And in addition, Heaven's Calling sounded great. I personally like when the screams blend into the songs, and with just about every track on this album, the screams blended in with the songs. They weren't overshadowed and they weren't undershadowed. They were just part of the melody. And personally, I really enjoyed that. I know I don't speak for everyone, and a lot of people have way different opinions, but I liked it. So for Never Give In, I think that the maturity in Andy's voice, the way that his voice is more gruff but not gravelly, and also the way that this song sounds almost ominous, really worked really well for Never Give In, because the spoken part at the beginning, the lyrics that aren't part of the chorus, it all sounded very ominous, whereas the chorus really hit you, it punched you. And to me, those little details are what makes that song so perfect in the Restitch. The rest of them, you can like pick out details here and there, but Never Give In, it was like full remaster and it worked so well. Sweet Blasphemy was the first single that we heard from this new album, and this was always one of my favorites from the album. I have nothing bad to say. Again, this one I saw had like overwhelmingly positive reviews. I don't think I saw a single negative review on Twitter or YouTube for this song. It was just fully well received. Sweet Blasphemy remastered sounds more powerful than the original, and I've said that about a couple of others, but this one just really reaches out and grabs you. And I feel like that's what we were missing before, is that with the spoken words and stuff in this song, you didn't get drawn in as much as you do with the Restitch. And then the final song on the album, of course, is Carolyn. And what can you say about Carolyn? I mean, it was a beautiful song back then. It has beautiful meaning. I've seen Mark Pitts tweet about it almost non-stop since the live show, because it just has so much deep meaning. And you can really tell that with the Restitch, Jake really put a lot of thought into making it even better. And this song was beautiful to start with, and it's even more beautiful now. it holds a special place in so many people's hearts. It's strong, and it's a strong song to end with. And it's probably one of the most beautiful songs on either album. So that was my song-by-song breakdown of Restitch These Wounds. Now, I'm going to briefly discuss the live show, because that was so amazing. And once again, I'm using the word powerful because it was. We had an absolute Legion unity. It was basically like a watch party on Twitter. So many of us were watching all at the same time. Did any of you see Ruth's amazing black and gold makeup? Like, so beautiful. I had done my nails black and gold. The black ones are gold sparkles. Let me show. See? So I did my nails and some CC war paint for the show, and I was just super hype. And then Ruth did her makeup. So many people did their makeup, and we're so super excited for the show. And we all were tweeting about it and really hyping it all up. I even saw where Pat did the filter, and a lot of people were using the filter to show their war paint support without actually doing their war paint. It was so, like, inclusive, and that's because it was worldwide. Like, I got to watch a Black Veil Brides concert live with so many members of the Black Veil Army. Like, the Legion of the Black were all tuned in at the same time. How wild is that? Like, just think. I had Breonna in Australia messaging me about it. And at the same time, my friend Amber was watching. And we go to Black Veil concerts together already. Like, in person. There were people from all over. I mean, everyone that we talked to on Twitter on a daily basis, we all were there. We were all hypothetically at the whiskey that night, and they were playing to an audience of more people that could have fit that venue. It kind of reminded me of, you know, the last episode of Buffy. And if you don't, it's okay. I'm just going to be a little fangirl for a moment. But the last episode of Buffy, when Buffy's giving her little speech, and she says, every girl that would be a Slayer will be a Slayer. And it was just like this full empowerment moment. Well, sitting there knowing that so many members of the Legion of the Black were tuned in, watching that stream, it felt like that same empowerment, like that same uplifting experience. And that's just mind-blowing and heartwarming and just overall amazing. So with that being said, I'm going to jump into reading my notes just word for word. These are just like random thoughts I had throughout the show. So the first thing I want to say is I am so thankful that we had multiple cameras. And more specifically, I'm so thankful that we had a camera on CC, because, oh my goodness, that camera was so wonderful. We never get to see this beautifulness when we're on the barricade looking up at the stage. Like, unless he stands up on his drum set, you don't really get to see him. Very wonderful to have a camera panning around CC. Even though there was no audience, Andy would still look directly into the camera, like he looks directly at people when he's singing. And even though there was no audience, he'd still lean down towards where the audience would be. And it was just really entertaining to watch just his typical onstage mannerisms and point out things that were happening. And when he'd make that eye contact with the camera, we all felt chills around the world, because that was just... that's a memory that you hold on to after a Black Veil show. Everyone's war paint looked so fantastic. I loved all of the before the show pictures that they all posted, and Lonnie looked fantastic. The screams sounded fantastic, and they worked so well with the venue's acoustics. Like, the reverberation was so good, and Lonnie's accompaniment with some of the melodies sounded so smooth and just so harmonious, especially with some of Andy's vocals. It just, it flowed and he just fit so perfectly. Everything felt so cohesive. So I actually discussed that some of the perks of seeing the live show versus seeing it in person is that you get to go to the restroom anytime you want. You can be sitting there in your PJs if you want. You can get water and snacks anytime you want. But there's also so many downsides of not seeing them live. And if you've never seen Black Veil Brides live, I hope you soon get to see them live, because it is just an overwhelming experience. It did feel weird not hearing a crowd after the first song. So when that wasn't there, when they finished the first song, I was like, what happened? Andy did talk to the stream and continued to remind us that we were all there together, and remind us that everyone around the world that was watching at the same time. It made it all feel like a family event. Children's Surrender sounded so peaceful and so beautiful, and it reverberated throughout the venue, flowed so perfectly. I was very, very, very pleased with Children's Surrender. Have I said the stream was perfect? Because it was perfect. I don't have many descriptive words, but these are the descriptive words that I've chosen to use, and perfect is the best one for this job. You also got to see so many details that you wouldn't get to see in concert, because they had multiple cameras and the cameras were on different angles. You got to see like Jinx's finger work. You got to see like different clothing pieces, the subtle things like the Black Veil star on their mic packs, and just little itty bitty details that were so cute and so interesting to see that you wouldn't have noticed if you weren't watching it live on multiple cameras. One of the little details that I thought was just like the absolute cutest thing in the world was Lonnie wearing the lace glove. That little detail, I'm sure you might have noticed from the barricade if you were up close at the barricade, but it was just a really, really adorable detail, and I liked it. So when they played Perfect Weapon, Cece's reaction was just the absolute cutest. Like, he looked so surprised and excited, and just, it was an overwhelming brotherly experience, and I'm glad we got to witness that, because when Andy started that Perfect Weapon scream, Cece's face just lit up, and it was so adorable and so perfect. Perfect. The word of the day is perfect. It was just like that perfect brotherly support, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I would say that this was by far one of the best performances ever. Like, best performances overall. The talent is completely unmatched. The overture was the best intermission we could have ever asked for. It brought so many people to tears. And like I said, Jinx is just like one of the most talented people I've ever seen. So to be able to witness that is like if you were able to go back in time and hear a classic composer do his thing. Like, that's just what it's like to hear Jinx do his own string work. That performance was golden. The gold theme works in many ways, but it definitely works here. Like, that violin just sang beautifully. You didn't need lyrics. The violin did the work for you. It was such a strong form, a glorious melody, and the thunder between the intermissions was just a gorgeous transition. The live Heaven's Calling did have a harder sound than what we're used to with Heaven's Calling, but it wasn't unwanted. It was very, very nice to have a harder sound, especially after the soft, melodic sound of the overture. Andy also teased that they might do more live shows and play other albums, and I think that would be really cool. I'm also super excited for the teased album. They've also teased that they're working on another concept album, and Wretched and Divine was my favorite album, so a new concept album, I'm ready. So final thoughts is that everyone really gave it their all, and the live show was fantastic. Restitch These Wounds is fantastic. So for the comments down below, we're celebrating 10 years of Black Veil Brides. I want you to just tell me your favorite Black Veil Brides memory, or if you don't talk to me about that, talk to me about something, because you know I love for you to talk to me down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you come around again soon. Say bye. Bye.